Well, students, today I'm going to take a class on alcohol. Alcohol is a chapter which it is taken from organic compounds. You know that we have some organic chapters in the IGCSE or O-level syllabus. So alcohol, among them, alcohol is a very important chapter. Let me start the chapter from first slide regarding alcohol. Well, we are going to learn these topics, alcohol, then properties of alcohol, and then uses of alcohol. These topics are going to be discussed today. Now, first question is, what is alcohol? You can understand alcohol is a organic compounds, and this type of organic compounds contain basically three elements: carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. Well, every organic compound should have a functional group, and the alcohol has also a functional group, and its functional group contain OH. OH does not stands for alkali or base here. OH stands for determining the chemical properties of alcohols. That means if any organic compounds contain OH as functional group, then that type of organic compounds are called alcohols. Basically, this functional group will determine the physical and chemical properties of organic compounds. Now, few examples of organic compound, let me show their displayed formula. Here you can see that all these organic compounds contain OH as functional group, and with OH, we may have one or more than one carbon and hydrogen, but in all organic compounds, the functional as it contains OH as functional group, so this can be considered as alcohols as a common name. Well, let me change the slide. So from the previous examples, one thing we can understand that all these organic compounds can be expressed with a general formula. We will determine the general formula of all these organic compounds. If several compounds can be expressed with the same general formula, then that is called homologous series. And you can see that some examples of organic compounds, if carbon atom is 1, then that is 1 is meth. So the name came from number of carbon atom, and the ending always will be all. So meth plus all, that is methanol. Then if carbon atom is 2, then it is called ethanol. Carbon atom is 3, it is called propanol. Like this way, we can also determine butanol. And as I have mentioned that we can determine the general formula of all these organic compounds. The general formula, if we analyze it, we will see that all of these compounds can be expressed with a general formula that is CnH2n plus 1 OH. If we put n is equals to 1, then you will get first compound of this alcohol group, that is CH3OH. If we put n is equals to 2, you will get the same second alcohol of these organic compounds, that is ethanol. Then we can also determine butanol, propanol, and butanol by putting n is equals to 3 and 4 respectively. So I hope you understood how to determine the formula of the organic compounds from the general formula and how we name it. The name has two parts. First part always comes from the number of carbon. If n is equals to 1, that is meth. If n is equals to 2, that is eth. If n is equals to 3, that is prop. By this way, if we add all in every time, then it will be, we will get the complete name of those alcohol, that is methanol, ethanol, propanol. By this, these are the names of these alcohols. Well, I'm changing the slide now. So structural formula is a very simple thing. That is, when we put number of carbon and hydrogen atom present side by side, if we put it, then we get the structural formula. And from the previous slide, we get the idea of the displayed formula and also the structural formula. These are the structural formula when the number of carbon and hydrogens are put side by side. For example, CH3OH. And if we write the displayed formula, then we have to show the total arrangement. Here we see the total arrangement of the atoms present in methanol. And when we put carbon hydrogen side by side, then that is actually structural formula. So we can write the structural formula and displayed formula from the molecular formula. I hope you understood. Then the properties of alcohols are very important. Let me see the properties of the alcohol. For comparison between alkane and alcohols, if we see the boiling points of alcohols are a bit more than alkane. You know that melting point, boiling point, everything, these are actually depend on the intermolecular forces. It indicates that intermolecular force among the among the molecules of alcohols are a bit more than alkanes. That is why it's intermolecular. That is why its boiling point is more. So intermolecular force of alcohols are stronger, much stronger than alkane. That is why you can see that methane has boiling point minus 164, whereas the boiling point of methanol is 65 degrees Celsius. That means the boiling point of alcohols is much more than boiling points of alkane. It indicates that the intermolecular force of alcohols are more than alkane. So here the dot line is showing the intermolecular force. You can see the attraction between two molecules of alcohols are shown by this dot line, and it indicates the intermolecular force. So intermolecular force of methanol has significant amount. That is why its boiling point is more. On the other hand, there is no intermolecular force, almost no intermolecular force or negligible intermolecular force between the two molecules of alkane. That is why its boiling point is very much lower than alcohols. I hope you understood. Actually, intermolecular force is a different topic which we discuss elaborately in AS level, but here we are learning O level or IGCSE where we do not have a elaborate discussion on intermolecular force. Just we can understand it. Intermolecular force is the force which exists between two molecules, and melting point, boiling point, it always depends on the intermolecular forces. I hope you understood. We have to learn about the chemical reactions, the reactions between alcohol and water. Well, we will see the reactions later on. Here, the keys are not working properly. So let me show the other reactions of alcohol. Here you can see that when the alcohol is burnt in oxygen, insufficient oxygen, you will get carbon dioxide and water. And this reaction is highly exothermic reaction because alcohols can be used as fuel. And this reaction will produce carbon dioxide, water, and huge amount of heat will be produced here. This heat can be used to run many things. And the country like Brazil, which produce huge amount of alcohols with cheaper cost. That is why in a country like Brazil, they are using petrol. They are instead of using petrol, diesel, they are using alcohols as their fuel. Okay, because of this type of reactions. These reactions will produce huge amount of heat. That is the main significance of this type of reaction. We can see also the next reaction. This one is also alkane. Alkane also produce the same type of reaction, and all, it is also highly exothermic reaction. And these alkanes are also used as fuel. Petrol, diesel, etc. This kind of fuel, fossil fuel contains alkanes. That means The alkanes are also highly exothermic, and that is why this can be used as fuel in our daily life. I hope you understood. I'm changing the slide now. Whenever alcohol reacts with water, it always produces the bubbles of hydrogen. Here, the bubbles are a bit slower bubbles. If the reaction does not produce huge amount of hydrogen because of the slowness of the reaction. But instead of reacting alcohol, if we use any inorganic acids, we know like hydrochloric acid, we know huge amount of bubbles are produced because those reactions are very fast reaction. But alcohols also produce hydrogen, but this reaction is a bit slow reaction. So we will get an organic salt whenever the hydrogen will be substituted by sodium, and as the hydrogen is substituted, so we will also get hydrogen. So you have to learn this type of reaction and practice it at home, because these reactions may come in the exam. Whenever sodium reacts with water, it will produce it will be very fast reaction, as sodium is a group 1 element, and even with cold water this type of reaction may happens. I'm changing the slide now. Alcohols are highly soluble in water, highly soluble because of the presence of OH group. This OH group is hydrophilic, has some hydrophilic action, so it can interact with the water molecule. On the other hand, another part of this alcohol, it is hydrophobic, that is carbon hydrogen part. You can see the shadow which is showing a bit pale blue type, that is actually hydrophobic part, which does not help for dissolving. So that is why whenever the alcohol contain is longer carbon hydrogen part, then that will be a bit less soluble in water. But OH part always helps always help dissolving in water. So if the hydrophobic part is smaller, then that should be more soluble in water. That means the smaller alcohols will be easily soluble in water, but larger alcohol will be a bit less soluble in water because of this hydrophobic nature of carbon hydrogen part. I hope you understood. Smaller alcohol means when the carbon hydrogen part is smaller, that is smaller alcohol, and smaller alcohol always helps dissolving alcohols in water. That is why smaller alcohol will be easily soluble in water. Let's see some uses of alcohols. You know that alcohols are used as drinks in the winter countries because it has the ability of making a bit warmer temperature. So that is why some countries they are using as drinks. You can go through the sentences written here over here. So I'm going to the next slide after this one. Alcohol can be also used as fuels, as I have mentioned. And here you can see if alcohol is oxidized, then it will be transformed into ethanoic acid. And that very dilute, maybe 30% dilute ethanoic acid solution is called vinegar, which is used to preserve the substances. You are familiar with vinegar, right? It is used in many cases to preserve anything like achar or any other things. We may use vinegar. And it is also a very good solvent, especially paint. The paints are type of substance which are not soluble in water. So how we can use it? We must have to dissolve it, right? In that cases, alcohols are used. Alcohols can be used as solvent. So that is the end of this today's class. I hope all of you have understood. If you have any confusion, please let me know. And also you can use the videos again and again to understand the things I have explained here. Thank you very much, students.